It was raining that evening, the kind of soft, stubborn rain that blurs car lights into streaks and turns every reflection on the pavement into something almost poetic. Inside a small cafe tucked away on a quiet corner of the city, the scent of roasted coffee beans and warm pastries lingered in the air. A single woman stood outside, her hand trembling slightly as she checked her watch for the 5th time. Emma had never been this nervous before, but then again, she hadn't been on a date in nearly 7 years. Before diving into the rest of this emotional story, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the beauty of unexpected love, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need a little hope today. Your support helps us bring more stories that touch hearts. Emma took a deep breath and glanced through the window again. Inside, she could see the familiar warmth of yellow lights bouncing off wooden tables. People sat laughing, sipping lattes, lost in moments she hadn't experienced in so long. She hesitated, her heart twisting with guilt and anxiety. She was late, an hour late, and not because of vanity or nerves, but because her 7-year-old son, Noah, had cried when she told him she had to leave. He had a spelling test the next day and wanted her to help him. She'd promised she would, but she also knew she couldn't keep living in fear of opening her heart again. Her friend Lily had set her up on this blind date, insisting that she at least try. He's a good guy, Em, patient, kind, the kind who listens more than he talks. Emma had laughed at that, thinking Lily was exaggerating. But now, standing there in the rain with her beige coat soaked at the hem and her nerves fraying with every second, she wondered if she should just walk away. Surely no one would wait that long for someone they'd never met. She pushed open the door, the little bell above it jingling softly. Warmth wrapped around her. Immediately, the kind of warmth that wasn't just temperature, but comfort. She brushed a damp strand of hair from her face and scanned the room, expecting to see an empty table where someone might have once waited, perhaps a half-finished coffee and an abandoned hope. But then she saw him. At the far corner table, near the big window, sat a man in a gray sweater. His sleeves were rolled up to his elbows, and he was leaning over a notebook. Across from him sat a little boy, her little boy, Noah. The sight froze her in place. Noah was writing something, his small fingers gripping the pencil tightly, while the man guided him with patient eyes and a soft smile. A mug of coffee sat untouched beside him, the foam slowly fading. For a moment, Emma couldn't breathe. How had this happened? She had told Noah to sit quietly and color while she got a takeaway coffee before leaving him briefly at a table near the counter, only for her phone to buzz with Lily's text reminding her of the date. She must have left him there when she rushed out, then returned when the rain started. But somehow, instead of finding a worried or angry child, she found this gentle stranger sitting beside him, helping him spell words that had always given him trouble. She took a slow step forward, unsure whether to interrupt. The man noticed her, his eyes lifting with quiet recognition. He smiled, small, hesitant, but real. "Emma?" he asked softly, his voice calm, like he didn't mind that she had arrived much later than expected. Noah looked up, his face bright. "Mom, this is Daniel. He helped me with my homework." Emma's heart clenched. She wanted to apologize for being late, for being disorganized, for being someone who hadn't yet figured out how to balance life as a single mother and as a woman who once dreamed of love. But the words caught in her throat. Daniel didn't seem to need them. He simply gestured for her to sit, as though time itself hadn't mattered. As she settled into the chair, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. The kind that comes when someone sees your chaos and doesn't flinch. Daniel asked Noah about his school projects, his favorite subject, and even listened as the boy proudly explained how he'd learned to multiply big numbers. Emma watched quietly, her hands folded around her coffee cup, its warmth grounding her in the surrealness of it all. It wasn't supposed to go like this. She was supposed to meet a stranger, exchange awkward smiles, talk about their jobs, maybe laugh politely. Instead, she was watching a man she'd never met help her son write the word extraordinary in careful, crooked letters. And in that small moment she realized, it truly was extraordinary. As the evening went on, rain tapping softly against the windows, the cafe began to empty. The barista started wiping tables, the espresso machine letting out the occasional sigh. Yet the three of them stayed. Noah doodled superheroes on a napkin, while Emma and Daniel finally talked. She told him about her life, the endless juggling between work and motherhood, the exhaustion that came with doing it all alone, and the loneliness she tried to bury under routine. He listened without interrupting, his gaze steady, his presence unhurried. When she apologized again for being late, he smiled and said quietly, "You weren't late. You came at the right time." That line stayed with her. There was something in the way he said it, something that told her he understood what it meant to live with regrets and still choose kindness. He mentioned he was a teacher, which suddenly made perfect sense. His calm, his patience, his gentle encouragement with Noah, all of it clicked into place like the final word of a crossword puzzle. Over the next hour, laughter replaced hesitation. They talked about books, travel, and the quiet ache of loss. Daniel had been engaged once, years ago, but life had taken an unexpected turn. Emma didn't pry, but the sadness in his eyes told her he knew what. It meant to rebuild from the pieces. When the cafe finally closed, the waiter turned off the lights, leaving only the glow from the street outside. Noah had fallen asleep with his head on his sketchbook. Daniel stood, stretching, then gently lifted Noah's jacket and draped it over him. Emma's throat tightened at the tenderness of it all. Outside, the rain had stopped. Daniel walked them to her car, and for a moment they stood under the flickering streetlight, unsure of what to say. She wanted to tell him how much it meant to her, that he didn't judge, didn't rush, didn't see her lateness as carelessness but as life happening the way it often does, unpredictably, beautifully flawed. Instead, she just said, "Thank you, for waiting, for helping him." He smiled. It wasn't waiting, it was worth the time. The days that followed didn't feel like a fairy tale. They felt real, gentle, unhurried, filled with the kind of small, meaningful moments that build trust. Daniel began visiting sometimes after work, helping Noah with math, or bringing books he thought he'd enjoy. Emma watched them bond, the laughter that filled the once quiet apartment, and found herself softening in ways she hadn't thought possible. Love didn't come as fireworks or grand gestures, it came as consistency. It came as someone remembering Noah's favorite comic book character, someone showing up when the car broke down, someone bringing soup when she caught the flu. It came as understanding that she didn't need rescuing, just someone to stand beside her in the storm. Months passed, and one evening, Emma found herself back in that same cafe. The rain was falling again, soft and rhythmic, and Daniel sat across from her, smiling as Noah worked on another drawing. There was something sacred about the symmetry of it all, how life had circled back to where it began, yet everything had changed. Emma looked at Daniel and realized that love doesn't always arrive when you're ready for it. Sometimes it finds you when you're late, drenched, nervous, and holding too many responsibilities. It finds you when you've given up believing it ever would. She reached across the table, her hand brushing his. "I'm glad you waited," she whispered. He smiled, his thumb gently tracing the back of her hand. "I'd wait again," he said softly. Noah looked up and grinned. "Are you two going to get married or what?" They both laughed, and for the first time in a long time, Emma didn't hold back her smile. Maybe love was like that rain. Unpredictable, cleansing, and quietly persistent. Maybe it always finds its way, even when you arrive late. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need a reminder that love can find you, no matter how broken or delayed your journey feels. And before we end, tell us in the comments, do you believe that love finds us when we least expect it?